Okay, my outstanding friends, this is going to be Shocker Supreme Deluxe du jour. What are we looking at here? How did this happen? These are the Rainbow Mountains of China. And you say, wow, that's interesting. And I say, well, guess what? This is related to the moon. You say, oh, come on, how does that happen? Well, let's take a look. Let's look at the moon. Maybe we can figure it out. They just landed on the moon yesterday. Or last night. I mean, just a few minutes ago. I don't know, not long ago. You see what you see here? I have some things to show you that are going to shock you right to the core. It changes everything, but somebody has to stop and look at it. Okay, my friends, hang on. This is going to be a killer. I'm going to explain how all of these colors happen all around the world, and then we're going to go to the moon and see if it happens there too. Let's take a look. All right, so these are the Rainbow Mountains in China, and they're spectacular. Okay, you just saw the Rainbow Mountains. Well, this is tendon, a ponderosa tendon, flat tendon, sheets of tendon. This is an image by Getty Images, Ed Preshke. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, that's biology. And notice these little fibers and see the different colorations of them. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. They're not all exactly the same fibers, which means they have different chemistry. All right, and then this is where they basically overlap and fluids move between them, these little black areas. All right, I know this is way over the top for most people, but this is that same tendon. And you see the different color stripes in here? Those are different straps. They're just different tensile strength and so forth. It gives an unbelievable amount of durability. This flat elastic sheets. It's a ponderosa tendon, which is this, just what I showed you here. Now, where else can we find these different colors? Well, on the moon. I'm not kidding you, that's the dark side of the moon. These are the different spectral frequencies of colors given off by different materials. This is all red, yellow, blue. We got some greenish looking stuff. Then it goes off this way. Very important thing to see. These two little holes here. One's one color, one's another color. Red spot in the center. What's going on? Why is this have so much spectral, radiance to it, instead of just being black or brown or whatever? All right, this is really important you understand this, but don't concern yourself about it. All it relates to is different colors. That's all you really have to know. They have different polarities, which mean they attract to different materials, and then they bond with them, and then that material shows up with that color. That's all you have to think about for now. All right, you just got to spend a couple of minutes. You'll understand very simple. I showed you the transition colors. All right, they find something to bond with. Well, what do they find to bond with? Well, it depends where they are. In this heart, if this stabilized in mudfossil conditions, which is the boiling hot waters, a lot of salts and a lot of silicates, and then nothing but blood, the blood would find a place to mix with this and this. The heartstrings would have a different color. The valves and all that would have a different color. And yes, they do. And I can prove that because this is the place where it happens. These are opals from the Yoa region. They call them opal nuts. Well, they're not. They're organs. And what has happened, this is that heart. And it's taken on the transition colors that it wants to stabilize with these ventricle walls and so forth, the arteries and the veins and the valves and the outside coating, the fascia. It all has a different chemistry, so it wants to bond with a different transition metal. These are all the transition metals, and they're all kinds of different colors. So that proves that. I can't prove it any better than that. That's a heart right there. And if this was in the conditions the other one was in, you could turn it into opal. I figured I've worked all this out. There's an eyeball. Look at this. There's an eyeball. You see that? That's the muscle on the eyeball, and that's an eyeball. And you see how all the different tissues take on a different color because they want to stabilize with somebody that matches up with that right polarity. It's as simple as that. It's really not all that hard to understand. Now, the same thing has happened on the moon. You say, well, how could that happen on the moon? Well, I can tell you exactly how it happened. That's biology, my friend. I'm going to show you every single detail of the biology here. It cannot be missed. And they're up there on there, and they're going to put a rover up there in the next week or so, or 4 days, or 14 days, or whatever, so pretty soon. And I'd like to see them do their tests on here, what these different layers consist of. I know what they consist of already. I can tell you exactly what they consist of. And I will show you, as above, so below. It's just the way it is, my friends. I know, shocker, total shocker. This is Mimas, it's a moon, and there's the stalk attachment in the center. These are the two little spots you're going to see up on our moon. And then that rips right off, because this is a tendon emplacement. Now this, I believe, is a rope tendon. The other one, I believe, our moon was from an aponeurosis tendon. But they're both enthesis, which means they're anchors. And one of them lays flat, and the other one goes in like this into bones. But that's what these are. They're tendon balls. If you read the ancient mythology, they say this. These are all body parts. Gaia was a living creature at one time, and I'm not so sure about that now. Okay, I just want you to know, I studied fascia because I found it in my fossils, and nobody didn't know about it. Well, they knew about fascia, but they didn't know about this fluid-filled highway. Anyway, this goes back to 2015. Fascia facilitated fossilization. It means the fascia caused the fossilization to become easily done. Now, I said all fascia is made of collagens and keragens. They're the fabric creating fiber and elastins in a sheet. It wraps everything in your body individually from everything else, and then comes together as one giant system. There's over 20 types of collagens and keragens. Some protect from acids, other from salts, other from caustics, minerals, and others are mineralized for strength, and the variety is amazing. It really is. There's a ton of different ones. Now, the fibers are infused with silicon. I found that in the mud fossils. Now, there's one other thing to take into account here. Okay, here's another little part. The skin in these mud fossils has 50 times the silicon in it as other tissues, in most cases. Some cases that's not true, but primarily it's the coating that is absorbed and turned into feldspar, which is aluminum silicates, and all feldspar is aluminum silicates. That's covered with aluminum silicates, which is feldspar. But inside is basalt or whatever it wants to be. But the coating was the fascia. That's the key. And it's a fluid-filled highway. I've got here it is. Fascia. Here, well, listen to this. Fascia was thought to be mere packing material. When I first started into this, they said, "Oh no, it doesn't mean anything. It's just fluffy stuff." They thought it was like inert. It just didn't do anything. Long been ignored as a subject of research. Recently, however, there's been new equipment allows viewing of the fascia as it does its job. I can see it, and I have shown it actually going and attacking, invading toxins. I have shown this. Once again, many experiments had totally unexpected results. And this was back in 2015. Fascia is a tubular, fluid-filled fabric network. And it instantly reconfigures itself if damaged or pulled apart. And it also attacks invaders. I found that as well. Now, I worked with people over in Germany and so forth, all the top people, and they told me that they were finding tattoo residue down inside in the organ fascia. And I said, wow, how did all that happen? And it is a fluid-filled highway. It just clicked on my mind. Somebody went either too far or not far enough, and that stuff went, I don't know how they do tattoos. I know they go, and they shoot the stuff in all over the place. But if you get it into the fascia, it will just flow through the body. And something there will want to attach to that particular type. I think they were talking about black I can't remember. Somebody have to do that research. That's not me. I've done my research, and I had this. And this was all me in 2015, understanding fascia. And in 2018, they said yes, it's a newfound organ. It's the biggest organ in the human body, and they still don't understand. It is the immune system. You see how crazy this is? How this all fits together? This is fascia. That's fascia right there. That's going to be made of collagens and keragens, and there'll be a certain type of chemistry, which is the fascia. And there'll be a lot of blood, iron oxides in here, because it's always serviced the tissues with a little bit of blood, no matter whether they do a lot of work or they're just sitting around. They still have to have blood in them, which is this, including the collagens and keragens, because it's a gooey sort of substance. Then below that, you have a basement layer, more or less, that is the membrane underneath, which is going to be filled with phospholipids, because the membranes have a phospholipid membrane. So this is the gooey stuff. I don't think this is the membrane. I think this is well, I can show you some other anatomical pictures, and I'll describe it exactly what it is. But I think this is an aponeurosis tendon, because you see the way that runs off this way? I think this, if it was a rope style, it would come bang straight down in. And I can show you some of those. Mimus is a rope style. This, I believe, is aponeurosis. But these three layers, I know exactly what they are. I can tell you the chemistry of them. I can tell you why that's there and why this is here and why that little dot is in the center. I'm making these claims. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. You see this? This is ripped away from here. And I think this thing came in here as a strap, and this was locked in to other fascia. And it creates a web. And I can show you that as well. And I'll show you that on Earth, because it's stunningly large, and it's just what it is. So this is the moon. All right, this is Mimus. Now, I don't have a better shot of this, but this is the main core coming out. That's not an impact. That's snapped off. And I believe this one here and this one here is the two dots. I can't, that's just a guess. But I can tell you what, that is a tendon enthesis. And that's what it is right there. And this is the rope style, comes down. But they have to be fed with a vein and an artery and a nerve and all that stuff goes in there. But they also have to be coated with the fascia, which is this, and this is that. Then once you get past the fascia, you get the membrane. And then you get into the heart of the subject, whatever it is, a tendon or muscle or whatever. All right, this twists and turns every which way. This is an aponeurosis tendon. They're the flat sheets. You see these little straps? They go down through these little slits. They're slots. They go down through there. This one's ripped out. It's supposed to be anchored in there. All right, I'm going to read to you a little quick description of how this differs from the rope style tendon. And this strap is flexible. They have to bend and so forth. And the tendon pulls against the basement layer. Okay, these are the balls we're talking about. They're just tiny as can be. And they are in bones, and they're the rope style. So they have a whole bunch of balls come together in a little tiny rope that comes out and anchors that bone to a muscle. Basically, that's how tendons work. All right, this makes it very, very simple. This is from KNYA, aponeurosis versus tendon. They're both the same tendon, but they're one of them, well, anyway. Aponeurosis versus tendon. Aponeurosis and tendons are connective tissues. Their functions are different. Aponeurosis provides support and stability by connecting muscle to fascia, whereas tendons attach muscle to bones. So the fascia is the coating around the core of your body and so forth. And you have to have that like a girdle. That's what aponeurosis does. Now, the muscles, though, they are really pulling back and forth between bones. Different story. Consider aponeurosis as slings that distribute stress. Tendons are cables that carry force. Both are essential for fluid, forceful motion. You have to have them both or you're in trouble. Now, there's a difference between them. Let's look at the differences. All right, this is a little fuzzy, but anyway, this is the aponeurosis, and these are the rope style. Structure, flat sheet-like. They're flat, and they have those little balls anchor in, and they pull back and forth. Cord-like and rope. They stretch from bone to bone with a muscle in between. Muscles to bones, muscles to muscles, or even to bones. Aponeurosis is a pretty flexible style. Now, aponeurosis is broad and thin. The rope is narrow and dense. Broad attachment, wide muscle areas. It covers huge areas. The rope transmits force from muscle to bones. The other one is abdominal and cranial regions, your head and all the dense tissues that move. So abdominal, cranial regions, basically. Throughout the body at muscle-bone junctions is the tendon. More flexible due to broad structure. It's flat, it can twist and it can turn, it can do all these things. The other ones are less flexible. They provide stability. They're strong, and they're almost always under tension because they're tendons. Now, whoops. The tendons are fibrous and they're opaque. The other ones are translucent and whitish. You can look through them. That's basically, I got one right here. This is the fascia type, the aponeurosis tendon. That's one right there. This is aponeurosis tendon in a mud fossil. That's why I could see all this stuff. I see things that they can't see. Doctors can't see the things I see. I'm not kidding you. Translucent and whitish, the fibers and optic, may have lesser innervation. In other words, it's not deep inside. It's sort of on the outside. And I'll show you that. Just they hang on and they can rip out, not easily, but they can. And I will show you that actually happen. Generally well innervated to proprioception. So they're deep. More extensive. They got a lot of the flat sheets everywhere. Limited, slower healing. Yeah, they don't heal well. Trust me, I had a real serious issue with that twice. External oblique aponeurosis. That's that flat white sheets, just like I showed you on this thing. That's the aponeurosis tendon. Limited sway. Achilles tendon. That's the kind of big rope tendon I'm showing you, and I can show you those are sticking out of the ground here and there. Okay, I showed you the aponeurosis tendon. This is it. Straps going through, that's the ball, and it's pulled out from the anchor below, which was more fascia or whatever. But they just go in a little ways up to about here. And then sometimes they pull out like that one. That's an injury. Now, I can show you this in a gigantic scale. Now don't forget the ball is attached to the arch, which I will show you the arch in a minute. And this has eroded. They come in different colored layers, as I showed you. Some layers erode, some layers don't. And it just depends on the chemistry you are in. In this case, the lower basement layer all eroded except for the ball, and I'll show you that in a second. And it's because of the different layers of colors. You see this? There's going to be balls in here somewhere. They're locking down inside, deep underneath these. And those balls are, some of this stuff will erode different than the other stuff. And here's what happened over in the Arches National Park, if I can find it. I thought I had it. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm talking about the moon being a tendon ball. Well, everything was gigantic. You see this right here? That's one of those straps coming down into what was at one time the basement layer. We're anchored only up to here. And there was other ones. One here, one over here, one over here. They're all over the place. This is Arches National Park. This one broke off right up here. You see, that's the core of it. it would have come down probably to this one, I would imagine. Maybe to this one, I don't know. But that one there is one of these tendon enthesis balls. And that did not erode, but the whatever it was, the flesh, the mat, whatever. And it's all because of different chemistry in different places. There was salts, there was acids, there was a lot of transition metals, there was places where there was extreme heavy amounts of silicates, there was places where there was slaughtered with one type of blood or the other. There was a lot of places with different types of enzymes and bacterias, and they all had a different effect on the outcome. So they were not all turned to just like this. If there's this type of ponderosis tendon, I have some of these that are basalt, totally basalt now. This looks like it's turned into mudstone primarily, and I have other ones that have turned into mudstone too. I basically got everything that there is. I've been doing this a long time. And you see these up here? This is also eroded little pockets of bloody tissue. And there's so many layers of tissue. This is not sedimentation. This is not sedimentation. Everything seems to have been built in layers. And when you get into the microscope stuff, you can see these blocks are just stunning to see how unbelievable the human body is, or any creature's body. But look at the size of this thing. So think of the size of that mat. And it did erode for some reason. I don't know why. There must have been some kind of chemistry here that was reactive to whatever the moisture was here, and it just washed it away, dissolved it. You know, it's stunning how much has just been overlooked and dismissed. These are what they call flat irons, and there's a guy, Myron, who goes, oh, it's just this little happening, and this, and it rolled down the hill. No, that is dragon scales, and so are these. Hold on. That's just, I don't know exactly what, well, I wouldn't say they're dragon scales. I would say that's the skeleton bones or something left over, but it's part of a dragon. And here's another one. It's very hard to dismiss this. And the one well, they're all over the place, but the one in North Africa, Typhon, he's the best example. Now, there's a guy standing down in here somewhere. Myron is down here with his drone, and he's looking at this stuff, and he's thinking this is some big deal here. And I said, what about this? He said, oh, that's nothing. That's just, those are just flat irons. They're everywhere. I know. I said, well, how do you explain that? Oh, well, did it. And I said, oh, boy. They cannot get off of that thing that they've been told. Now, you see all these different layers of tissue, these different colors? That is different types of tissues, and they will have different chemistry, and they will bond with different types of transition metals and create these different colors. And some of them are spectacular, and I now know why. I was wondering why some of them turned. Well, look at this. This is this is pink salt. It's from a pink salt mine, and I have basically the same thing here. That's a bone. Well, this is a meat, I'm sorry. The same as that. Only mine's not salt. I do know why that happened, though. It's got something to do with desiccation. Okay, I'm just going to sort of ramble through this quick because I'm not sure what I showed you and what I haven't shown you. But I've shown you that basically everything is biology, and I'm saying the moon is a tendon enthesis. You say, that's crazy? I say, no, it isn't. This is Bennu, which is a heart. They just came back with samples from this. These are the valves of the heart. They just came back with samples and went way inside, and they came back with these samples right here. These are phospholipid membranes. That is sarcomeres. So is that. This is what came back, and it's from a heart, because it's heart muscle, which is this. Heart muscle is from a heart attack victim here on Earth. And these are the sarcomeres, which are the muscle blocks. And here they are here. from Bennu that they just came back with. They found everything about life in here. They found the amino acids, the RNA, the DNA components, 16 of the 20 amino acids, which are building blocks of life. They found uracil, which is part of the DNA process. They found everything. They found all the chemistry. They found the anatomy. And it is a heart. All you have to do is look at it. You can see it's a heart. There's right there. These are what hearts look like when the top blows off. And they do blow off because of iron banding. And you see these. This is Psyche. It's another heart. It's in space. Now, Mars was hit by a gigantic, well, it's hit by Venus. Now, here's the other things that are up on Mars that I think Elon Musk and the rest of those guys should know about. This is muscle. It's eroded muscle. It was destroyed just like Earth almost did, but this has wiped out the atmosphere. This is the whole different story. I know where all the minerals and metals and everything. I know everything about this just by looking at it. There's going to be plenty of water up there. It's just not going to be on the surface. Now, is it good to go out and explore Mars? I don't know. I don't know how much more this is going to last here on Earth, so who knows? This gets really deep, my friends. All right, this, like I say, I'm going to just ramble it. These are the Mars blueberries. They're identical to the Moki marbles. These are the Mars Morse code, which is nothing more than interstitium straps that pull this way and that way. And these are the balls. They're the same as the Moki marbles, same as the Mars blueberries. This is dusted off because it is on Mars and there is no water erosion. That's the key. That's how I know this is from Mars. There is no other possibility. And so is the other ones that I showed. This one right here. There's no water erosion here, none. It's just dusted off. This is not continually over millions of years. This was an event that happened and it was over. The same thing with on Earth. The Triassic did not take 50 million years. Red bed, gray clay, black cap from a gigantic worldwide flood, which is a worldwide 3 layers, they say it. And that happened in about a week or so, not 50 million years. Okay, so we saw the salt, we saw the dragon and the flat irons. I showed you the tendon enthesis. And this is Arches National Park. They're all over the place out there. This is biological. It's not just some erosion. Now, where do we go from there? Well, I showed you this one. This is just, what can I say? That's the other one. It was going to go down to here. Now, so where we go next? Here's some more Nash's arches. Biology, my good friends. We saw that China, we saw that. This is, this is about them landing on the moon. They're secret sauces. They really pay attention to things. Well, that's good. All right, you kind of make up all these scenarios and you run through them. It's really to make sure that all the teams are actually operating like they did tonight. They say that their secret sauce is to really look at the details and cover every possibility that they can come up with and try to understand every little detail before they do it. And then when they do it, they can confirm yes or no. I agree with that. That's a secret sauce. I like that. All right, I know I showed you about the tendon enthesis going into bones versus going into that flat stuff. These are the rope style. And I showed you this, which is mimus. It's from a tendon enthesis. And there's these 2 little spots are up on the moon. I'll show you in a second. They're in all of them because, well, here's the one on the moon. You see those 2 spots? Don't forget, I know what the chemistry is going to be here too. I'm not making guesses here. Well, I'm making claims. They're sort of guesses, but they're claims. I told you about the chemistry here. This is fascia, basically. And then so forth. Anyway, these 2 spots are, I believe, the blood. Now, there's going to be nerve intervention, there's going to be nerves in here too, little bits somewhere. I don't know where they are, but these 2 I would say are the vein and the artery. That's the vein. It's not red. You see the artery, red blood stays red. It reflects red because it's just red blood. Veins are black blood in mud fossils. Now, in space, I don't know. There's not enough oxygen to do what it does on Earth, making it black. I don't think, but I don't know. But I can see that little spot in the center there, and I think that's the valve. Because what happens is red blood goes in. It can go anywhere it wants. Red blood has free reign. Go this way, that way, upside down, back, forth. However, black vein blood is used up. You can't let it get back in. It's got to keep going this way. So there's valves. So it comes through that valve, and it tries to go back through, the valve closes. And that's what I say we have here. That is my estimation. I'll show you another shot that I think is a better shot. And don't forget, these are layers of tissue. That's all they are. And I believe the strap ran off this way, and I think this was probably, like I say, a Ponerosa style. Iapetus, I'm almost certain, is the Ponerosa. It has an actual ring around it. Like, well, I think I might be able to show you that. You see this? This is a better shot to see that valve. You see it? I think that's a valve. And this is where the red blood goes in, and this is where the black blood comes back out. And again, this is torn away. You see, this is torn. There was a layer over here, and you can actually see some structural looking stuff here. If you got a good mud fossil eye, you can see there's little things that look like there were attachments. See the little wrinkles? This was ripped. That's the moon. That's the dark side of the moon. You don't see this. Now, how they lit this up and so forth, and, I know they can see spectral images easily with certain equipment. That's what they must have done. So something that allowed them to see this. Obviously, I don't know. All I can tell you is that's what they're showing. And even the green here, that's another layer of tissue. That, I bet you, is going to be where the interstitium is. That's the fluid-filled highway. I'm almost certain of it now that I'm thinking. This is what discovery is all about. You look, you think, you look, you think, you look, you think, and then all of a sudden you think, wow. And green, I'm going to tell you right now, is the color of bacteria. And bacteria and plant life live in that layer, in us. That's the layer that's your immune system. Bacteria live in there and they create enzymes. Enzymes do all the nucleophilic substitution and invasion. They are the things that travel around in your body and break down things and create things. They create proteins, which are builder blocks, and they also create enzymes which break things so you can digest them and absorb them. It's an elegant system, and I bet you that is right there is the interstitium. This is incredible how this has worked out. This is in 2018. They did agree, yes, this interstitium, which I discovered and I wrote the fascia about this fluid-filled highway, does exist. The reason they never thought, they thought this was a flat plate. By the time they did autopsies, the fluid was just gone. So they just thought it was a piece of cardboard. Like, well, it isn't. I could see it, and I knew exactly what it was, and I said, you got something going on there. Well, then I did some more research and I could actually see it functioning, and I can show it to you functioning. It's going to take a little longer than I want to bother today, but this is the skin in this case. Sometimes that would be the fascia that coats organs, pleura that coats the lungs, but it's the layer above the membrane. Then you get to the membrane, which is the fluid-filled highway. All right? Basically, and actually the membrane is down here where the bacteria and all that stuff lives. This fluid-filled highway is more or less the lymph system. But below that you have all these balls and so forth that stretch and stretch. Those are the interstitium balls. And then below that you have your good tissue. Now let me show you this in detail on Earth as well as in heaven. on Mars. I think I already showed it to you on Mars, the interstitium. It's called the Mars Morse code. Now, here's the whole package in one shot. What I just showed you was the interstitium. Now I'm going to home in on here. As you see, you got this pinkish stuff. Then you got the brown stuff. Then you got the balls. These little bags are fluid-filled bags. The balls strap these things so that the goo, this stuff can gooey, it can stretch. These are little springs. When it stretches and they flatten out and stretch and flatten out and so forth, or pull and punch together, it doesn't matter. It will do all that stuff. But then after you let it relax, it's supposed to come back to this arrangement. All right, you with me so far? The balls are tough. The straps, pretty tough. This, not so tough at all. And this is just fluid. So this is what it looks like in a human being's body. That's the tissue that makes up your skin or your fascia. This is tiny, tiny, tiny stuff. These little balls, but they're everywhere in your body. And so are they in the Moki marbles. You see these? These are identical to the Mars blueberries. Same. And they are everywhere in Utah, Arizona, because that's all skin. And it has eroded to the point where the balls are all by themselves. All right? This is over in the United Kingdom. The waves have washed away at the skin and the layer of tissue below, the interstitium. And what is the result of that? The balls that were in this wall have dropped down because they're tough. These are the balls. They are not stromatolites. Call them whatever you want. But they were the balls that were in here and now are being eaten by bacteria and moss, some type of something. Now, the red bloody stuff has turned into mud. You see, it's just mud. Which this has mud too. I have other shots showing this is all mud packed around the edges, and these are the higher spots. Around the edges where it ran off, all the mud from there would be just like this down here. And it is. And you can see all the balls laying in the mud. Same thing. So this is what we got. That is the size of it here on Earth. And it's the same thing on Mars. Same thing on Mars. And the same thing on Bennu. This is heart muscle from Bennu. And it's literally 100% proven. It's here on Earth. There's no reason we can't be positive 100%. You see, here it is. It's the same as the heart muscle here. And it's the same chemistry. Everything's the same. There's no difference at all. So I think that would be a good thing to look at. I mean, there's some billions of dollars spent there. You know, we should get something for it. Now, where else have we not gotten to yet? Well, these are salt spires. And they say, well, how the hell did that happen? Well, I know how it happened. I finally figured it out. I am not going to tell you. This is Iranian Labor News Agency. All right, you see this? That's all salt. And you say, whoa, Roger, how did that happen? Well, I don't know. What do you see here? What do you see there? What do you see here, here? It's pretty interesting stuff when you look at all the little details. So we see the spire. Now what else? What else? We saw the transition metals. I showed you these? I'm sure I did. Yes, I know I did. And they're just polarized so that they want to find somebody to stabilize it. Normally they're flowing through your body all day long. They don't stay. Once you die, there's no more flow. They want to find somebody to attach to get stable. And that's why if there's enough of them in one spot, you get colors like the heart. I showed you the heart. Heartstrings. This was laying like this. And I know that because this is where the metals have dropped down. This is where the plasma is at the top. And all the rest is just transition metals finding a home to live in. And we're in a race with the Chinese to retrieve our rocks up on Mars. I know what they are. Why you got to retrieve them? It's going to cost $11 billion, take 10, 20 years. Sky crane or heavy lifter, that's the only question. We're going to spend all this money. I don't think so, my friends. I think it's time to look, stop and look. You see this? This is up on Mars. This is another tendon. There's another tendon that this is. There's the stalk. And there's the two, I believe, the vein and the artery. And this is the tendon. They have, I believe that's it. I would have to go with that. And that's on Mars. And Mars has all the same stuff we have here. And I showed you the same stuff, and the same stuff is on the moon. And here's the Mars crab, which was just an artery feeding sarcomeres. You know, I'd certainly love to talk to Elon Musk. He wants to go to Mars, and he's going to have to know what he's getting into. I think I know. At least I have something to offer. Now, something else. This was taken with a cell phone a few years ago. And this is the moon. These are all the fields that are in space. Light does not travel at the same speed forever. Psst, impossible. We have accelerated light. We split the light. You know, there's so much to be seen. It's all about dipole electron flood theory. And this stuff here, I don't know what the hell's going on there. That, I think, might be something Elon Musk or all these guys who want to go to the moon, to Mars, and all this. So yikes, 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 yikes. Who knows? Who knows what we're looking at? Maybe they do. Maybe they do, and they're just not talking. I don't know. All I do is just look. You see this? That's what you call dipole on steroids, and I think this is Venus. I'm almost 100% sure of that. And it has a double magnetic field. You see that one and that one? Explain that one to me, because I can. I've been really studying this stuff. I'm not bragging, because it's true. Oh, it's just crazy. Look at this. I believe that's the seven sisters, the Pleiades. You see the dipole nature of this? The light, bright lights, the dark darks. Everything is dipole and fields. And that creates push to shove and vibration. That's why you see all those little field lines. You see them? That's what it's doing. I'm telling you, it's just unbelievable when you start really paying attention to the things that you people just don't care about, haven't paid attention to it. You know, I did a lot of work on this. This was back from when I first started and all this stuff, about all kinds of stuff going deep into atomic nature. And, you know, this was when quantum started. I was in that. But I realized that the people I was working with, they didn't have enough mind. All they wanted to do was just destroy people. That's what I saw. There was nothing to do with trying to figure something out unless they figured it out. Other than that, it was destruction of the lower ranks. There was no, wow, look at this, let's look into it. No. And same with this. This has been going on many, many years now. So, at least if now they want to go to Mars and they're going to the moon and they're going to be able to do sampling and stuff, this is what I want to know. What is this made of? What is that made of? What is this made of? And the green, what is that made of? All right, I think I know what the green is made of. That's the interstitium. It's made out of lymph fluids, and I bet you that's bacteria growing in there. I'd be surprised if it isn't.
Moon. Over the next 14 days, Blue Ghost will take pictures of an eclipse and a rare phenomenon last seen by astronauts more than 50 years ago. It's called the Lunar Horizon Glow.
People think of the moon as a vacuum, that there's no atmosphere around it, but it actually does have an extremely thin atmosphere. It's a very, very low pressure. And so the glow is caused, of course, by sunlight passing through that atmosphere. And in the right conditions, you're able to observe it. So in Earth, of course, the sunlight passing through our dense atmosphere makes it glow these beautiful shades of blue. Not sure exactly what color the lunar glow is, but I suspect it's a shade of blue as well.
This isn't NASA, it's a private company, only the second one to do it. Why do you think it's so rare, only the second company to do this?
Well, that's right. It's difficult to land on the moon. Several organizations, including countries, had tried and failed just several months ago. Intuitive Machines successfully became the first U.S. spacecraft to soft land on the moon since Apollo 17 back in 1972. And congratulations to Firefly Aerospace for now being the second since then and the second commercial company to do so. NASA.
Okay, we're just going to end it up here. This is the Firefly. Credit Firefly Aerospace. They went up there to the moon. They have a 14-day mission. They're talking about NASA's technology is delivered by these people. Well, I want to see have the answers, the questions answered that I asked. I'd love to have that. I think we deserve this. We're spending this money. And the things I have shown, I find it very difficult for anybody to completely dismiss out of hand. The guy's crazy. It is crazy. I didn't say it wasn't. Now, showing you this, it's been gone a very, very long time. I am going to go into the mythology of the moons and what they were supposedly from and who they are, because they are literally gods in the ancient texts. That's the mythology. We got to go to Apollodorus, Hesiod, however you want to pronounce it, Ovid, all of them. They compiled extensive texts about these things. Then we also have to look at the Bible, the Jewish texts, all of that stuff. The Colburn Bible, Enoch. All of that stuff was just dismissed because it was just too crazy and out of hand. Well, it's not crazy. It is real. I think, well, if you can come up with a defense against the things I have shown, I want to hear it. But first of all, I want to know what the chemistry is. I've already predicted what it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, well, I'm going to just stop it at that. I'm not going to tell you anything right now. I'd like to discuss it, and we could have a discussion about what I claim, what you claim, and we come together in the middle. That's called the Rogerian argument. And I'm not arguing, I'm just asking questions. All right, I love you all. Like I say, the next one's going to be an extended version of what they had to say in the ancient texts about these things.